one is coming. Not the people you wait for, not the applause you dream of, not the rescue you pray for. No one cares. The world is silent, indifferent, merciless. And that silence, if you dare to face it, will either crush you or it will free you. Because the moment you accept that no one cares, you stop living as a beggar. You stop living for their eyes, and you begin living for your soul. Look around you. This is the age of noise. Every hand clutches a glowing screen. Every mind races with thoughts that never end. Every heart aches for attention, validation, recognition. We are slaves, slaves to likes, to views, to empty compliments. We chase shadows of approval while our real life rots in silence. You tell yourself, if they notice me, I exist. But what happens when they don't? You collapse. You drown. Anxiety rises like a storm in your chest. You refresh the screen again. Still nothing. And in that moment, you feel smaller than dust. We walk through life like beggars at a banquet, starving for someone to throw us scraps of acknowledgement. We fear silence more than death. We fear being unseen more than being unloved. And this is why we are weak. The Stoics looked at the same human weakness, but where others cried, they sharpened steel. They did not write lullabies. They wrote weapons. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, wrote to himself in the dark, "Do not waste time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Notice, he wasn't asking for applause. He wasn't hoping for cheers. He was commanding himself in silence, like a soldier sharpening his sword. Seneca thundered, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." What does this mean? That your fears, your anxieties, your desperate need for recognition are prisons you build with your own hands. And you are both the jailer and the prisoner. Epictetus, born a slave, beaten, crippled, still wrote words that shook empires. If you want to be invincible, then care for nothing beyond your control. Invincible, not safe, not liked, not popular, invincible. And how do you achieve it? By cutting the chains of opinion, by burying your hunger for recognition, by standing in the storm alone and whispering, "No one cares, and that is why I am free." Imagine this, a Roman battlefield, mud, blood, smoke rising. Marcus Aurelius stands on the edge of war. Behind him, senators whisper, citizens doubt. Ahead, barbarians scream for his empire's death. Does he wait for applause before commanding? No. He writes in his journal, "Do not waste your breath on applause. Live only by the standard of nature." He didn't live for their cheers. He lived for his duty. And in that indifference to approval, he became immortal. Now picture a modern scene. A man lies in bed at 2 a.m. His phone glows in the dark. 1 post, 10 views, no likes, no comments. He feels his chest tighten. He feels invisible, forgotten, worthless. But here's the truth. The world is not cruel. The world is indifferent. The sun does not rise to be thanked. The ocean does not crash to be admired. The mountain does not stand to be photographed. And you were not born to be noticed. You were born to be alive. Here is the weapon. Here is the steel you must wield. The next time you are ignored, smile, because it means you are free. The next time no one claps, stand taller, because you did not need their hands to confirm your worth. The next time silence greets your effort, remember the truth. The oak tree grows in silence. The lion hunts without an audience. The warrior fights without applause. You are not here to be seen. You are here to be strong. So when the world does not care, do not collapse. Do not beg. Do not cry out. Rise. Because freedom begins not when people love you, but when you stop needing them to. And the day you accept no one cares, you become untouchable. Picture this: a young soldier in the Roman legions. The winter is brutal, his stomach empty. The battle horn calls at dawn. He writes a letter to his family, knowing they may never read it. There is no applause waiting for him, no statues carved in his honor, and yet he marches. Why? Because the Stoics taught him this truth. Greatness is not measured by who notices you. It is measured by what you do when no one is watching. Now, fast forward 2,000 years. A young woman sits in her apartment. Her heart pounds as she scrolls. Her friends are celebrating without her. The invitations never came. The pictures sting like knives. Tears rise. She whispers, "Why don't they care?" But here's the prophecy. The moment she accepts that their attention is not the measure of her soul, she is free. The chains snap. The silence becomes her ally. Because the truth is this: the crowd that ignores you today will forget you tomorrow. But the discipline you build in silence will outlive them all. Every war begins here, not in the streets, not in the fields, not in the kingdoms of men. It begins in the mind, anxiety, overthinking, the endless whisper, "Do they notice me? Do they value me?" And every whisper is a dagger aimed at your soul. Marcus Aurelius stood in the chaos of empire and wrote words that cut deeper than any sword. It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. What does this mean? That if you live for attention, you are already dead. That if your heart beats only to be noticed, you have never truly lived. The Stoics teach the battlefield is not Rome. The battlefield is not the enemy. The battlefield is you. And if you conquer yourself, the world has nothing left to enslave. Now listen, here is your survival code, not advice, not soft words, but orders for the soul. When anger rises, pause. Let the storm crash, but do not move. A soldier who strikes in rage loses the war. When fear hunts you, breathe. The body obeys the lungs. Control your breath, and you control the beast inside. When desire whispers, remember your duty. You were not born for pleasure, you were born for strength. When the crowd abandons you, stand taller, because lions are never weaker for lacking sheep. When silence greets your effort, smile. You are finally free from their chains. Seneca said, "If you wish to be loved, love yourself first." But the deeper Stoic truth is this: do not even crave love, crave virtue. For virtue is yours forever, but applause is a stranger that never stays. Think of an oak tree. It grows for decades in silence. Storms tear at it, winds scream at it, but no applause is given. And yet, it grows. One day, it shades an entire village. One day, its wood builds ships that sail across seas. One day, its roots split stone. But it never once begged the sky to notice. You must be the oak. You must learn to thrive in silence, to build in shadows, to stand unshaken when no one claps. Because those who depend on applause collapse when the crowd falls silent. But those who depend on virtue stand eternal. And so the Stoics left us this truth carved into eternity. No one cares. The world is indifferent. But in that indifference lies your power. The sun will rise tomorrow, whether you are praised or mocked. The ocean will roar tonight, whether you are loved or forgotten. The stars will shine above you, whether your name is spoken or erased. So why should you bend your soul for recognition that vanishes like smoke? Why should you bleed for approval that dies in seconds? The day you stop caring who notices is the day you finally notice yourself. And when you notice yourself, the world cannot touch you. Most men are not broken by enemies. They are broken by chains they forged themselves, chains of overthinking, chains of comparison, chains of craving to be seen. Look closer. The modern man does not need whips or prisons. He has built his own cell, a glowing screen in his hand, a cage of endless scrolling. Every like is a drop of water in a desert, and he kneels like a beggar at a fountain that was never built for him. You ask yourself, why don't they care? Why don't they see me? The Stoic answer is merciless, because they never did, because they never will, because it doesn't matter. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't be." He meant this. The harm is not in their silence. The harm is in your hunger for their noise. When you beg to be noticed, you surrender your soul. When you learn to be ignored without bending, you are free. The world is full of soft men, men addicted to comfort, men terrified of silence, men whose worth collapses the moment applause stops. But you are not here to be soft. You are here to be forged. A warrior does not ask the battlefield for permission to fight. He sharpens his blade whether the crowd watches or not. He trains at dawn even when no one claps. He bleeds in silence because he knows one truth. Discipline is the only recognition worth keeping. Seneca thundered, "It is not the man who has little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." Understand this prophecy. The craving for recognition makes you poorer than any beggar. But the man who acts in silence, the man who builds without applause, he is wealthier than kings. Let me show you two mirrors. Mirror one, ancient Rome. Epictetus, once a slave, his leg broken by a master's cruelty. He could have cried, "Why me? Why is no one coming to save me?" But instead he whispered, "You may chain my body, but you cannot chain my mind." He lived ignored, forgotten by the masses, but his words, carved in silence, now thunder across centuries. The applause he never heard echoes forever. Mirror 2. Today, a young man builds his craft. He writes, he lifts, he studies. No followers, no fans, no praise. His friends mock him. Why waste your time? But he does not stop. And one day, years later, the world calls him unstoppable, not because they always cared, but because he kept moving even when no one did. The lesson is carved in fire. Obsession with recognition is the death of growth. Indifference to recognition is the birth of greatness. Now, sharpen your mind. Here's your next code, orders for the storm. When overthinking strikes, act. Do not drown in what if. Strike, move, decide. A soldier in battle cannot wait for certainty. When comparison poisons you, turn inward. You are not them. They are not you. The oak does not envy the mountain. The lion does not envy the eagle. When despair whispers, recall mortality. You will die. They will die. Their opinion will rot in the same soil as your bones. When weakness tempts, harden yourself, train, fast, endure. Let discomfort carve you into steel. When recognition calls, refuse it. Do not act for the claps, act for the cause. Virtue is your audience. Duty is your applause. Epictetus said, first say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do. No witnesses required, no approval needed, only you, only your standard. Understand this, the enemy is not their indifference. The enemy is your dependence. If you can cut it, cut the hunger for recognition, you will taste a freedom few men ever touch. The Stoics built empires of the mind. Their power was not in crowns or armies. Their power was in this. They did not beg the world to care. They carried their duty alone until the end. And so, like a storm, the prophecy builds. The world will forget your name. The crowd will abandon you. History will erase your face. But what remains? Your soul, your discipline, your virtue. The storm is coming. And the question is this: when it breaks upon you, will you collapse like sand, or will you rise like iron? Listen, the silence is not your enemy. It is your test. Every storm begins in silence. The sky holds its breath before thunder strikes. The sea lies still before waves rise like mountains. And in the same way, your life will test you with silence before it drowns you with chaos. The question is not whether storms will come. The question is, when they come, will you break? Or will you burn with fire that cannot be drowned? The Stoics did not pretend the world was gentle. They stared into its violence and carved wisdom from the wreckage. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He was telling you, the storm is not your enemy. The storm is your training ground. Most men are glass. They shatter at the first strike, one insult, one rejection, one failure, and they collapse. But Stoicism demands you be iron, not glass, not wood, iron. Iron does not beg to be noticed. Iron does not fear the hammer. Iron becomes sharper with every strike. When the world mocks you, you must become harder. When the crowd abandons you, you must grow heavier. When silence swallows your effort, you must echo louder inside your own chest. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." And how do we waste it? By crying for attention, by waiting for others to care, by trading our strength for applause that dies in seconds. But the Iron Man, the Stoic man, he is not wasting time begging. He is building. He is sharpening. He is unbreakable. Let me show you. Scene 1. The gladiator. In the arena, the crowd roars. But their cheers are not love. They cheer for blood, not for him. And when he falls, they cheer for his death as quickly as they once cheered his victories. He realizes the crowd was never with him. The crowd was with their own hunger. And so he rises not for them, but for himself. Scene 2. The creator. In the modern world, a man spends years crafting in silence, videos, paintings, books. At first, no one notices. Friends laugh. Strangers ignore. He feels invisible, but he keeps going because the work itself is his audience, because he has learned the law. Those who create for applause collapse when silence comes. Those who create for truth stand when the world forgets. And when years later the world finally sees him, he no longer needs them because he already conquered the storm alone. Now sharpen your ears. Here is the third code. The storm demands it. When insult strikes, thank them. They have given you free training in indifference. When failure burns, study it. It is the raw material of greatness. Without it, you remain soft. When loneliness cuts, use it. Solitude is not absence. It is a forge. It builds men who do not bend. When fortune shifts, stand still. Do not rise too high with success. Do not sink too low with loss. Balance is invincibility. When life is silent, speak to yourself. Be your own witness. Be your own audience. Be your own storm. Epictetus declared, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Understand the fire in those words. If you crave to be seen as wise, you will stay a fool. If you are content to be unseen, mocked, ignored, then you will grow beyond all of them. The world will not applaud your suffering. The world will not reward your patience. The world will not cheer your endurance. But the world cannot stop you, not if you hold fast to virtue, not if you build discipline in silence, not if you stop begging them to care. The storm is coming. It will strip you bare. It will test every bone, every breath, every belief. And the prophecy is this: if you do not stand for yourself, no one will. So hear me. The storm is not waiting for applause. It does not care who notices its power. It crashes because that is what it is. You too must crash forward, not for them, not for their eyes, but because that is what you are. The crowd will forget your victories. History will bury your face. But if you stand like iron in the storm, your soul will outlive them all. The climax approaches, and the question remains: when the storm devours everything you thought mattered, will it find you glass, or will it find you iron? The sky darkens, the earth trembles, the storm is here. It does not ask, it does not wait, it strikes. Failures will rain down on you, betrayals will split your heart. Silence will mock your efforts, and death will stalk your every step. Most men crumble here. They scream, they beg, they claw for help. They shout, "Why doesn't anyone care?" And the storm answers with silence. This silence is the truth, the most merciless, the most liberating truth. No one cares, not the crowd, not the world, not even history. And yet, if you can stand in that silence without breaking, then you have become something greater than the storm itself. Now, you must hold the last code. These are not tips, these are survival laws. When pain claws at your bones, embrace it. Pain is the fire that burns weakness. Without it, you will stay soft. When betrayal strikes, do not seek revenge. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Let their poison rot in their veins, not yours. When death whispers, answer calmly." Epictetus reminded us, "You are a little soul carrying a corpse. Do not fear the end. Fear only not living before it. When the crowd forgets you, smile. There. Memory is weak. Your virtue is eternal. When all collapses, stand. Not because you will be remembered, but because standing is who you are." Understand this. A Stoic does not survive the storm by avoiding it. He survives by becoming it. He survives by being unmovable, unshakable, unstoppable. Look deeper. The applause you crave vanishes. The approval you chase dies with the men who gave it. The love of the crowd shifts like sand, but virtue, discipline, duty, iron, these do not die. They are carved in eternity. They are thunder in silence. They are the only things no storm can destroy. Marcus Aurelius once stood at the edge of despair, ruling an empire that did not care for his sleepless nights. He looked into the abyss and wrote, "Do not act as if you will live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you while you live. While it is in your power, be good. Be good, not noticed, not applauded. Good, that is the final weapon. That is the truth no one can take." So here it is, the line carved for your bones, the thunder that must echo in your skull long after this video ends. The world will break you. The world will forget you. The world will bury you. The question is, will it bury a man made of glass or a man made of iron? So now you stand at the edge of the storm. The truth is revealed. No one cares. Not your enemies, not your friends, not the crowd, not the world, but that silence, that cold, merciless silence, is your freedom. Because once you stop begging them to care, you will finally hear your own soul roar. Once you stop chasing their eyes, you will finally see with your own. Once you stop living for their applause, you will finally live for your truth. And that, my brother, my sister, is the essence of Stoicism. not comfort, not soft words, not lullabies, but steel, but fire, but thunder in silence. So if this message reached you, carry it forward. Do not beg for likes. Do not plead for applause. Stand, rise, be iron, because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more warriors. It needs more Stoics. The storm has passed, but silence remains. And silence, my friend, is where most men lose, not in the chaos, not in the noise, but in the quiet after it, because after the battle, your mind whispers, "Did they notice? Did anyone see my struggle? Does it matter?" And here is the brutal truth. It does not matter. Marcus Aurelius sat in his tent after war and wrote in his journal, not to be read, not to be remembered, but to remind himself. Fame is but smoke, drifting from dying men's breath. You must ask yourself, would you still fight? Would you still rise? Would you still build if no one ever knew? If your answer is no, then you are still a slave. If your answer is yes, then you are already free. A Stoic is never finished. He is always training. The gym is not the weights. It is every insult, every failure, every rejection. The battlefield is not the war. It is every morning when you rise to face a world that does not clap. Epictetus lived as a cripple, a slave, and yet his words trained emperors. Why? Because he mastered one truth. You cannot choose your battlefield, but you can choose your weapon. Your weapon is discipline. Your shield is indifference. Your armor is virtue. Every day the world throws arrows. You must learn to stand still and smile, because every arrow that does not pierce you makes you harder to kill. Look into the mirror. Do you see it? The shadow behind your eyes? That is death. It follows you everywhere. It sits beside you in silence. It waits with patience greater than God's. The anxious man trembles because he forgets this. He lives as if tomorrow is promised, as if applause will save him from the grave. But the Stoic man stares death in the eyes and whispers, "You are not my enemy. You are my reminder." Seneca said, "We die every day. A little of our life is taken from us with every passing hour." So ask yourself, why waste what little time you have waiting for someone to care? Why waste your breath begging for recognition when every breath could be your last? Death does not care for your applause, neither should you. Now you stand reborn. The storm has tested you. The silence has carved you. Death has reminded you, and in that crucible you have become invincible. Not because you will never fall, but because when you fall, you rise without begging. Not because you will never be ignored, but because you no longer crave to be seen. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, ruler of millions, master of armies, wrote only for himself. His private meditations outlived every cheer, every statue, every crown. That is the prophecy. The man who no longer depends on the world becomes greater than the world. The man who does not need recognition cannot be broken by its absence. So now the prophecy ends. But the echo must remain in you. Listen, no one cares, and that is your freedom. The world will ignore your effort. The world will mock your struggle. The world will forget your name. But you're not here to be remembered. You are here to be alive. You are here to be strong. You are here to be unbreakable. The oak does not ask for applause. The lion does not roar for approval. The mountain does not rise to be noticed. Neither should you. Be the oak, be the lion, be the mountain, because when everything is stripped away, the only truth that matters is this. Virtue is yours. Discipline is yours. Strength is yours, and no one can take that from you. Carry this forward, not for me, not for them, for yourself. If this message reached you, then let it live in your actions. The world does not need your noise. It needs your strength. It needs your silence. It needs your stoicism. Rise, stand, be iron.